Hi folks, James here, and welcome to the Spyro Circle, this time in collaboration with Forbes Israel. The world of cybersecurity is blowing up right now, with so many companies getting funding, growing their teams, developing technology to keep governments, businesses, and consumers safe. However, what isn't talked about is just the sheer scale of the attacks and the burden that that has on security teams. This week, I spoke to Itai Tevet, co-founder and CEO of Intezer. Intezer helps companies streamline their cybersecurity alerts, helping teams focus on what really matters and what urgently needs their attention, instead of having to sift through a bunch of false positives or mistakes or low-risk threats that can be addressed maybe later on in the time cycle. This is a big deal because we don't even need to discuss the fact there's a talent shortage in cyber. It's just inevitable at this point. The fact of the matter is, no amount of human talent can keep up with the sheer amount of AI-driven attacks that companies face. So the natural solution is to help companies with an AI-driven tool to help prevent AI-driven attacks. We spoke all about the AI industry, the cybersecurity sector, and how those fields are converging to revolutionize how companies and enterprises and governments are protecting themselves against an ever-changing landscape of threats they face. We also spoke about how Itai was head of the IDF's incident response team and how that shaped his experience and what he brought to a leadership role in Intezer. I really hope you enjoy. Itai, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to sit here with you today, and I want to talk a bit more about AI and cybersecurity and some of the big things that are happening in the industry and the world. But first, I want to give a bit of an overview for those who are watching or listening who may not be so familiar with the company or your story. So you folks were founded 2015, 2016, give or take. Correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, by the way. By yourself and Roy Halavi and Alon Cohen. Mm-hmm. You recently got a Series C funding round of $33 million by Norwest Venture Partners, bringing your total to $60 million. And you are, or the company is part of a growing category of cybersecurity tools that uses AI as an extension of human analysts to manage high alert volumes.
Right.
It's a lot.
It is.
It's good. We're going to get all into it.
You got it perfect.
Okay, wonderful. I'd just like to give an overview and we're going to go into it. So cybersecurity at the moment, it's like every piece of news, you have acquisitions or mergers or growth, or it's a big moment right now. So what are you seeing from within it, and where are you folks operating?
So I think that the biggest interesting shift we see now in the cybersecurity world is the introduction of AI into the mix. And by the way, I think that it's not just in cybersecurity that this is the biggest news item, right? It's almost in every industry. It's a disruptor. But in cyber, there's an interesting aspect to it where it's not just a disruptor for, regular companies, but also cyber attackers. So everybody's now trying to leverage AI in some sort.
I'm sorry, that was really wrong of me. I should have put my phone away.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry. That was really rude of me. Take it from everyone's trying to leverage. Sorry. Everyone's trying to get into cyber.
Yeah. So...
Sorry, that was really
that's okay.
Unprofessional of me.
Having a conversation.
Okay, exactly.
Light conversation, right?
We'll keep it for the outtakes.
Yes. So yes, in cyber you have this interesting angle where AI doesn't only disrupt the, I would say, normal industry that everybody, is familiar with, but also it disrupts how cyber attackers operate. There's an arms race of AI, not only on the defense side, but also on the offense side. So I think it's a very interesting dynamic.
The thing with cybersecurity as well is that the good guys often have to play catch up with the bad guys. So with cyber, it's not so much innovation as it's catching up with the innovators who are the hackers. So it's an interesting kind of backwards way of looking at these some of the problems. What's broken in cyber right now that needs such focus and that's bringing in some of these big players?
The whole cyber defense model today has the false assumption that everybody knows it's a false assumptions that humans are infinite. That is the biggest situation. Like the way that that every security team operates, it just assumes that, okay, my team of humans can handle the threats, and that is very much incorrect. It's completely broken. We are talking about, on average, let's say an enterprise in the US needs to deal with about 1,000 alerts per day, and a team of humans is not sufficient in order to deal with this volume. So what happens, and this is really the biggest bug in this whole situation, is that because of the fact that the alert volume is so staggering and unmanageable, then what security teams usually do is look only at the top. They sort by guest severity, and then they look only at the top 30%, and the rest of alerts, they push under the rug and hope that they're fine because they're lowest severity. And obviously many cyber attackers just know that and trying to stay in low signal so that they won't be detected.
It's kind of like a death of 1,000 cuts.
Right? It is, yes.
Yeah. Wow. So I want to talk about you folks and the problem that you're solving. So we spoke before this, and you were telling me that the Intezer was kind of going through something, and then in 2022 you had somewhat of an inflection point. There was a change for you folks.
Right.
Talk us through what that looked like for you.
Sure. So maybe that's a nice way of explaining maybe the founding story too. I personally was in the shoes of those security analysts who deal with cyber incidents. I used to lead the IDF cyber incident response team, so I had a lot of incidents that I needed to look at and investigate. And I had a problem where I had way too many cyber alerts and incidents and not enough people on my team. So basically that sparked the idea to create Intezer from the very get-go. That was like a mission statement: solve the talent shortage problem in cyber. From day one, that was our mission statement. And when we started off by building something for people like us, like me, my background, my partner's background, where we wanted to make the lives of security analysts better, easier, faster. But like you said, that was, I have to say, it was awesome at the beginning. It was a hit with many cyber teams in the world. Like we had Microsoft and IBM and Salesforce, like all security teams in the world that are well known were our user or our customer. But then at some point, it was hard to grow the business simply because the C-level executives didn't care. They don't care how the end user analysts does their job. So then in 2022, we had this breakthrough where we took all the tools and technologies that we have built for humans and basically gave it to AI. And since then, the company is absolutely booming. And I think that we invented what is today the hottest category in cyber.
Right. So talk me through what that looks like. Talk me through the process of an attack, where the AI steps in, what the human does, what does it look like? Because for me, I'm like a normal guy, right? Someone takes my password and does, but we're talking much bigger scales. So talk me through what an attack looks like, where the AI steps in, and what you folks have constructed.
Cool. So let's zoom out a bit. You gave a nice example. Somebody stole your password, for example. That's one attack. Now imagine that there are thousands of other types of attacks. People hack your website. People hack your device. People steal your password, and so on and so forth. There are infinite amount of types of attacks. And then there are all the cyber companies you hear about. Usually they are sensors to detect attacks in different areas. So one, there's like this cyber detection for mobile and for drones and for IoT and for IT and for cloud and for credentials, identity, all that. Like, so you have gazillion sensors that are for an enterprise. They generate a lot of alerts every day that, spoiler, most of them are false positives. Right. But then, okay, once the alert is generated, you have like a team that is, it's like in the movies where you see the NSA or CIA looking at many screens, and it's all like an operation room, right? So you have this team that gets all these alerts, and then they need to scrutinize, look at, investigate each and every alert. That's what they need to do, right? Investigate every alert and see, okay, is this a real incident or not? That is the first step.
And a false, sorry, just to cut you in there, a false positive is a form of attack because you're taking someone's time and focus.
Yes. I mean, it wasn't generated by an attacker. So a false positive. So it can be like, imagine that you're logging into your mobile phone and you guessed you forgot your password, and you kind of 3 times you did it wrong. That would generate an alert in 99% of security teams.
So that's an example of.
So it's not a real attack.
That's an innocent. That's an innocent false positive. But what I'm saying is, you could have, like we were saying,
a flood of false positives generated by attackers.
Exactly. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand your point. I think that in reality, the vast majority of things that security teams deal with are innocent false positives.
Right. Okay. So I hope I just haven't given attackers an idea.
Maybe you did.
We might have to cut that out. So I cut you off there. So you were talking about the first thing, which was spotting these false positives.
This is like triage at a hospital, right? You come in, you have an issue, and then the first thing that they do is decide whether you're going to emergency room or wait on the bench, at least here, hospitals in Israel.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
This is called the triage stage, also in cyber. And then once an alert is escalated, usually that's, in some cases, it's like a different team that is in charge of the escalations, but sometimes it's the same team. Then what they do is investigate this very, very deeply, respond, remediate, all that stuff. So this is essentially the process.
Okay, and so what you folks then bring is the organization for how to deal with it. But what you've said is there's a talent shortage.
Yes.
So you're helping the folks who are getting bombarded with these messages.
Yes.
So false positives or real positives, whatever, regardless of what they are. So, and as you said it as well, you're addressing the talent shortage in cyber. Why is there a talent shortage? Is that because of a lack of talent, or is that because of an increase in attack?
Wow, So first things first, in this era, just the volume, because of AI basically scales what humans can do, right? So it scales also what attackers can do. The volume to deal with automated attacks, AI-driven attacks, is just impossible for humans to deal with. Like, it's not just there aren't enough people who studied cyber in a university. No. We're way past this situation. So this is the first thing. And secondly, really, there's the process I described to you is extremely affecting attrition with security teams. Like, you work in a SOC, it's called a Security Operations Center, what I just described.
Yeah, the SOC, right? That's the acronym.
Yeah, exactly, SOC. And it's extremely hard to have people stay more than a year. So the combination of the volume of attacks as well as the nature of the job makes the talent shortage really an impossible problem.
When you help those analysts, are you helping them, and it could be all of the above, but are you helping them with their speed or their accuracy, or maybe even just psychologically, just like the sheer like influx of things they have to deal with?
All the above.
All of the above. It's like
all the above.
General relief of just lifting off the pressure.
So the most important thing, the biggest impact that AI and Intezer specifically can do is allow you to suddenly cover all alerts, not just the highest severity ones, because all the rest are usually being ignored because you don't have time to look at. But the fact that there is some technology that can actually scrutinize and investigate each and every alert, that gives you 100% coverage. And this is the most important impact in what companies, our customers, like NVIDIA and Salesforce and MGM Resorts, that's what they're using Intezer for. That kind of peace of mind that, okay, I'm covered. Every alert is going to get scrutinized.
Wow. And who are the people doing the attacking? Is it nation states? Is it people in their bedrooms or basements? What are the type of people attacking NVIDIA or whoever?
Basically, it's multiple different types of attackers. Nation states are definitely in the mix in almost every, I would say, U.S. enterprise. You see there's a lot of geopolitical interests from China, Russia, Iran. These are the usual suspects. But then most commonly is really crime, organized crime. In the past, there were mafia movies. I don't know if you watched Godfather. Today, The Godfather looks very different. The mafias are actually just cyber crime gangs. So it's not necessarily a kid in their basement. That can happen. But in reality, it's genuine organized crime that leverages cyber to generate billions of dollars every year.
That was my question. My next question was going to be whether it's organized or whether it's just a wild, wild west of chaos.
Well, again, it's kind of both, but the serious threats for customers like ours, which are enterprises, usually that's organized crime because it's very, enterprises are quite well defended. They invested a lot in their cyber defense strategy. So you need something a bit, more sophisticated to get through.
Do you extend your service to governments, or do you expect the government to get a service from someone you're providing your service to? What does that work? Because nation states and people and organized rings will also attack government agencies as much as they'll attack private enterprise.
So we used to actually, in the first evolution of Intezer, where we helped the human analysts, governments were really excited about our technology. Our technology is extremely unique and really kind of uplifted the skill set of their entire analyst team. And again, remember, that's where I come from. So it was the perfect tool for governments. Nowadays, after really the dramatic shift that Intezer has done since 3 years ago, then we basically the whole autonomous SOC product and concept is we today don't serve governments.
Okay, and was that active? Was that an active choice?
It's an active choice and is not a technical choice. Actually, it's more of a business choice,
right?
Because you have to do quite a lot of there's quite a lot of bureaucracy and technical preparation you need to do in order to sell to governments when it's a mission critical system. Again, what we did before was more of a tool for the end user that was easier to sell. But now we are the SOC operation center of those companies. So to be in that mission critical junction, it requires a different thing for governments. That's why we made the decision not to do.
That makes sense. If is it a SOC or SOC team or SOC center? I don't know the lingo for it, but if a SOC,
A
right?
SOC, yeah.
A SOC, okay.
Yeah.
So if a SOC doesn't adopt an AI first tool like yours, what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years to those teams?
Yeah, they're completely behind. And by the way, I think that it's true for most industries. Companies who don't adjust to this new industrial revolution of AI are way behind, and they are in trouble. And that's also true for cybersecurity. Attackers are already leveraging AI. You can't beat them with humans alone. It doesn't work anymore.
One of my favorite expressions is, and we'll get into this, AI isn't going to take your job, but someone who uses AI will take the job of someone who doesn't use AI. And it sounds like the cyberspace is in that same situation, because the attackers are going to be the other guys are going to be using AI. And if you're mentioning talent shortages or just sheer volume or scale, you can't possibly expect it. It's a losing game.
So I'll give an unpopular opinion. I think both of those statements are true. I think that AI can replace humans, and humans that don't use AI become irrelevant. And I'll explain how it relates to us. Our solution, it doesn't replace the entire security team. However, because I think that for many different reasons. But what we do replace is that first layer of triage. And there are teams that are in charge of that alone. And those teams we can replace. Now, the good news is that in most of our customers, that team is outsourced. It's outsourced to a managed service that you're paying usually a lot of money, and most customers are not satisfied with. And now you have the opportunity to, instead of outsource, to offload this job to technology, to AI.
So what happens to those people? Because we spoke before the call. This is like we're getting into the bread and butter, right? This is like the real crutch of what we're talking about. What's going to happen to those people in those industries? Because we're seeing it now already, because AI companies are releasing a productivity tool, and then boom, you just see a bunch of startups go up in dust, for example.
Yes. So basically, I think that the nature of the job is going to be morphed. That's first of all, like the nature of the security analyst job in an enterprise would no longer require to chase false positives all day long. Your nature of the job is going to change. Now, another thing that is going to change is the industry. I think that simple managed services that only offer like a 24/7 outsourced SOC would also not be relevant anymore, at least to some extent. I think this industry is going to be disrupted dramatically.
You see it already. I mean, like at the start of our chat just now, we mentioned just like the consolidation that's happening and the companies that are scooping up other companies, whether it's for talent or tech or market share. Those are usually why companies acquire companies. But you'll see it every couple of days. There's huge news coming out of just the industry undergoing a shift. What do you think it's going to look like in a year from now?
Wow. It's hard to guess I would say, from a global perspective, but in my niche, I have a very clear idea of what's going to happen. And again, it all has to do with the nature of the SOC team job is going to absolutely change dramatically. Humans will supervise the AI instead of chasing tickets all day long. And on the other hand, again, the industry of managed services in cyber is going to dramatically change. And maybe it's a fancy word of dying out, in my opinion.
So what rises from that? Like what? Because humans have to have purpose, and they have to have jobs, and they have to, I remember I used to spend I think it was like 3 or 4 hours of my workday
Mhm.
just transcribing the interviews that I would do.
Was that purposeful?
So I'll tell you what it did, because I was thinking, because as soon as I got a transcription service, I was like, wow, all of those wasted hours that I could have spent doing other things. I'll tell you what it did for me personally. It helped me review the interview. So if I spoke to someone for 45 minutes, I may have missed something. And if I listen over it slowly and I'm physically typing it out, it seeps into my brain just a bit deeper. So one of the things I had to get used to when I received this transcription within 20 seconds, I actually had to kind of read it and reabsorb it.
Yeah.
And that was a skill, that was a change that I went through. But now I can do 4 interviews in my day instead of 2 interviews, because I've got that afternoon free, or morning, or whenever I did it.
That's exactly the point. I think that AI can make the jobs of security teams much more purposeful. They will be in a more strategic point of view. They have time to think. They have time to be proactive instead of really being in a fire drill mode all day long. That is the world of a SOC. It's always an emergency, and AI allows you to zoom out, be in the role of a supervisor again, instead of a lot of grunt work that 90% of the time you're chasing false positives. It's madness. That has to change, and I think that AI does give the opportunity actually for humans to do a job that is much more meaningful.
Yeah. So I just want to repeat that. 97% of false positives, did you say?
97% of false positives is what we can clean out automatically.
Gotcha.
So on average, we escalate automatically between 2% to 4% of alerts, of the original alert volume, to the security team.
Wow. It's funny because you hear about these kinds of challenges in industries that just, they don't seep down to the layman, to the everyday consumer or employee. What can you tell me a bit about your experience in the army from what you were doing that led you to this moment? Talk to us more a bit about your journey, because you hit on it briefly, but I want to dive a bit deeper into it. So tell us a bit about what you were doing in the army while you were there and what led you to this.
So first of all, if that's okay, I would love to address your previous point about the layman's view of the problem. I think that this story is quite repetitive in almost every industry. There is this layer of job that requires certain expertise, human decision making, that so far has not been automated. That is, a lot of it is grunt work and a waste of time, even though you do need human-like intelligence. That suddenly AI can solve this situation and solve this talent shortage. I think that's true from the medical world to accounting, to law, to cyber, to everything. So actually, the point that I'm trying to make is our story, Intezer's story, but also the AI SOC story, is actually very similar to what you see in almost every industry in the world.
Yeah, I can attest directly and personally. I mean, I've had this conversation in the cyber context. I've had it, as you mentioned, in the accounting context. I've had it in the legal context. Yeah. Legal and accounting are interesting because they're famously slower industries to adopt technology. Right. So that comes with it a different kind of discussion about regulation, innovation, and the institutional change that they're facing. But I mean, you're right. I almost didn't want to diminish the work you were doing by bringing in all the industries, but if anything, it elevates it, because it's like, this is a global, this is like the standard now for everyone, everywhere.
And maybe what is the difference is the sophistication that is required is a bit more than the maybe other industries. In order to investigate a cyber threat and get to the conclusion if it's a false positive or not, you need higher expertise than, in some other industries. So that is what's the difference, and that makes our job way harder.
But more fun, probably.
way more fun because it's really a tough cookie to crack. And I'm very proud of my team that today we see in live production environments in some of the biggest companies in the world how we absolutely changed their operating model completely.
Wow, it's extraordinary, the kind of change that's happening behind. I say behind the scenes, but it's very much in the forefront of those industries. But just what's happening just to keep up with everything that's going on, it's extraordinary. I want to keep us a bit more focused into. I didn't want to dive away from it unless you were strategically trying to steer me away. I want to dive more into your experience in the army, because it's something that the listeners and viewers really get value from, which is the experience that people have in Israel's IDF, depending on in the units and the experience, that brings out this form of innovation or entrepreneurship. So I want to hear more a bit about your experience. You said you did like response detection in the army. So talk us through that.
So basically, I come from a...
Say as much as you can, by the way. I don't know if anything's hidden or,
So I come from both like engineering background and cyber background. In the beginning of my military service, I was more in charge of training programmers and engineers for the army. And then I shifted my role to gradually be in charge of the IDF cyber incident response team, which basically meant that every time that there was an attack by a nation state, we had needed to deal with it. Now, what does it mean to deal with it? Usually it means to forensically investigate a cyber incident, understand who, where, what, and then respond. And which a response is a whole thing, because you can respond in different ways. You can just kind of clean up the computer. You can also do other things like I probably can't go into this.
I took you as far as you could go, but you took yourself back. That's great. Well, that's part of it, right? It's and I think that's why Israel has become such a cyber security nation, because of the very things you mentioned. It's Israel being itself a target from its from its birth, and having to always adjust. And so cyber for me is one of the pillars of like security, of course. And then nowadays you have defense tech, which is
right
within all of that, because the country's had to adapt yet again to a different form. What did that do to you on a leadership level? So what are some of the skills, soft skills maybe, that you learned that you took into the private sector once you left the army?
I think that, dealing with that sort of dynamics where, again, everything is an emergency and you need to lead a team of very, very talented people in uncertainty. But framing about it in technology, of course, it's not combat, it's not the same thing. But from a pressure perspective, from a perspective of, cracking difficult problems, you need to motivate a team to do that, and it's not easy. Especially, us cyber people are known not to be the easiest people to work with. So that kind of helped me a lot. Of course.
Why is that?
Well, I think that many people that have this kind of hacker mentality, because that's what you kind of need. They're extremely creative, but they hate to do something that is repetitive. They have a lot of opinions, and some are just weird. So all that together, creates an interesting dynamic that you need to lead and motivate.
You sound like you describe journalists, which is probably why this conversation is going so well today. talk me through then the makeup of your company now. Talk me through some of the culture that you've been fostering and some of the team that you're building, and just tell us where you are today. Where do things stand?
So I'm extremely proud that, since the inception of our autonomous SOC concept 3 years ago, which really is kind of, we reinvented Intezer. Since then, the company has boomed from a business perspective tremendously. From a revenue perspective, customers, also retention, meaning like customers are happy, staying with us, expanding. This is all very, very exciting and awesome. I couldn't ask for better 3 years. And I think that there are several, and I think that this story is not so common, that we managed to completely reinvent ourselves and then really, well, first of all, invent the hottest category in cyber right now, which is the whole autonomous SOC concept, AI SOC concept, but also being able to, really pivot to something that is that successful. So I'm very, very proud of my team. And I think that the reason for it is really, to your point, the culture that we managed to instill in the company and the DNA, where I'd be happy to elaborate if you want.
Please, yeah.
So I think that an open and transparency culture is extremely important when you build a business. You have to listen. You have to listen to your colleagues, to your customers, put all your biases aside. That requires a lot of a lot of confidence and egoless approach. Mm-hmm. And I think that this characterizes all of our team, and that I'm very happy about it. And secondly, I think that we're very, maybe it's similar to the first point. We're very self-critical. For everything, almost, we're doing retrospectives. We meet for retrospectives for almost anything, a win, a loss, a conclusion from the market, anything. So I think these two things are what helped us be in the position that we are currently.
How many are you right now, and where are you?
We're more than 60 worldwide, headquartered in the US. Our entire go-to-market team are in the US, and R&D is in Israel.
As is often the case.
Yes.
With these companies, yeah. So I want to enter the closing part of our chat in our last section about looking ahead and looking forward, because you've discussed the moment of 2022 for you as being the inflection point, a moment of change, a moment where you kind of found your footing a bit and became where you were in the industry. What do the next couple of years look like? I know I asked about what it looks like for a SOC team, but what does it look like generally in the industry? What are we going to be looking towards?
I think we're going to look towards a very, very different looking industry, where the job of humans is dramatically changed compared to what software has done for you so far. We touched upon that earlier about how exactly it would look like, but really, as I see it from my point of view, Intezer is going to completely disrupt this whole managed outsourced service dynamics and enable security teams to be in the role of the driver's seat instead of being in a fire drill every day. This is really our vision that we're so obsessed with that I really see will come into fruition.
Wonderful. Itai, we're approaching the end of the time, I'm afraid, and the end of the notes that we have here. I want to end how I often do with a quickfire round, which is where I ask you a few questions and I just hit you and you hit me back with the first thing that comes into your mind.
Okay.
So, AI, are we in a bubble?
No.
You wake up, you got to do a bunch of coding. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
How do you like your tea?
Hot, green, Japanese. I'm a tea snob.
Okay, I'm a coffee snob.
Okay.
So I disagree on the premise of everything that you've said, but that's fine. What advice would you give to a young person now entering the job market? Probably in the cyberspace.
AI is your friend, not your enemy.
What's one book or podcast or show that you've seen recently that left a lasting impression?
Wow. I watched the very famous podcast that Ilya Sutskever, the guy from OpenAI previously, has talked about AGI, artificial general intelligence, and it was fascinating.
What was the show?
Yeah, I forgot, but it's like the latest show he's been hosted at.
Yeah, that's the problem with new media, because you start following people and guests, and then you lose track of the show or the publication.
I guess except Joe Rogan, which everybody knows.
Exactly, and then soon James Sparrow. Yeah, perfect. Okay, one last question. What is the one way people can follow you, connect with you, follow the company? Give us your links to help us connect.
Intezer.com. But I'm approachable. LinkedIn, Twitter, email, Itai at Intezer.com.
Wonderful. I'll make sure to put all the links down at the bottom, and so people can follow you. Itai, thank you so much for the conversation today. The time flew by. We had a lot to discuss, and we have a lot to, I guess, look forward to and prepare for in the years ahead. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.